Okay, I'd like to call the Public Health and Safety meeting to order. We have one item on the agenda, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Okay, the one item is Kiwanis fireworks application for the 4th of July. Lyndon, anybody, or?
It's actually Exchange.
Exchange, not Kiwanis?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Dave Brooks with Exchange. So that should be Exchange Club. That's the only thing I would,
Okay.
well, it is, because we're raising money and sending bills and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
because the application says Exchange Club. I didn't know if you were doing something with Kiwanis.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
The charge of the display, the people that are charged to display the same ones we've been using?
I believe so.
How do you raise your money there, Dave? How do you get around?
Ask.
Pass the hat. Pass the hat.
We ask people. We've got, I think, people who donated in the past they've already jumped on board again.
Sure.
So they're sending bills out to do that.
Okay.
To sponsor it. And I think, I will be on the board come next week for Exchange Club, so I don't know a lot of detail. I just said I was coming to the meeting tonight, so I would pinch hit for the Exchange Club, so I don't know a lot of details. But I do know, I think already 4 people who were sponsors last year have agreed to do it again this year, so.
Okay. Lyndon, the standard fire precautions would be in place and the road closures, et cetera?
Right, that's a set perimeter based on how big the fireworks are, so.
Okay.
Fire truck out there also, or EMS, or both.
Any other questions? Susan?
No, I just wanted to confirm.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay. Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We adjourned at 6:34.
I believe we have invocation from the Western Church tonight.
Our Father who art in heaven, we thank you for all these people that give of their service to help run our city and make it a better place. I pray to be with them tonight as they make these decisions, that they'll be using their wisdom and their abilities and help them to make the right decisions that will bring us a better city. So just be with them in everything and let them know that you are helping them to make those decisions. So I pray your blessing upon this meeting tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Roll call.
Olson.
Here.
Rice.
Here.
Tronis.
Here.
Robinson. Barrington. Allen. Sharks. Smith.
Consent agenda items. Items appearing on the consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda items.
I don't have anything to remove, but I've got a couple questions or updates. In the council minutes, the public health and safety that we talked, the burn ban from MTI, it says Jeff from MTI Maintenance. It was actually Jimmy Nicholas that was here from MTI to talk about the burn ban, so I wanted to make sure that that name was correct.
All of the documents, I think, were signed by Jeff Burns, though.
But Jeff was not here.
He wasn't here, you're right.
And it says Jeff came to explain,
Oh, he did not.
and he did not. And then I have a question on our pay estimates, and to me, it's just a consistency thing. We have Confluence and Rexwinkle doing 6th Street Plaza, and we don't have a 6th Street. We have 6th Avenue Plaza. And then we talk about it in other legal forms as 6th Avenue, and I just want to make sure that that is not confused, and that is the same project that we're doing on 6th Avenue. We also have on that same sheet Mitchell Aquatics Facility and Mitchell Aquatic Center, both under the same project number, and it's got to be one or the other. It can't be both. If it's 2016-11, they should have the same project title and not separate ones. We're not paying those on separate projects for separate items. Just a point of clarification to get those changed so that they're correct. I think that's all I've got.
Anything else? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Any public,
With those corrections, right?
with those corrections? Any public comment? Hi, Mike.
I'll take one and pass them down, Dan. Come around the way.
Mike, this is consent agenda approval, not public input yet.
We get both of these right after this.
Would be
Oh.
Right after this, Mike.
Well, I'll sit down.
Well, just for a second.
Give us about 2 minutes. Yeah, about 1 minute. Okay. Okay, so we had a request to approve in a second. Roll call, please.
Sharps. Aye. Allen.
Aye.
Barrington. Aye. Robinson. Aye. Tronis.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Okay, citizens' input. If you need to address the mayor and members of the city council on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium and state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken at this time. You're up, Mike.
Thank you. My name is Mike Valley. I've been a resident of Mitchell since 76, and I've lived on the lake since 77, 78. So I've seen it when it's been dry and it had a big, huge beach, and I've seen it when it's been going over the spillway about this much and came way back up on shore, and I've seen a lot of lake that looks pretty bad with algae, and this is the worst that I have seen it since I've lived on the lake by June 1. I mean, this is really early. I'm not here to debate or to have an agenda or anything like that, because I know you got FIREA under contract to look at some suggestions. I know you're working on a grant to do some things, and I sent a letter in support of that. But sometimes, you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And the other day on the 31st, it wasn't even June 1, I went down and I looked at, if you look at the first picture there, that's my, well, that's not it. It's go up on the next one there, Stephanie. Yeah, that's my beach right there, and it's the first picture on the left on the handout that I gave you. And you can see it's already there starting to turn that blue color, and you usually don't see that till, I don't know, end of July, August, or something like that. And it's just another picture there from my gabions, and then I stood on my gabions, and you can see the next picture there, how it, it isn't just in front of my house, you know, it's all the way across. So I thought, while I was doing this, I was, you know, I'm going to go down the public beach and just see if there's anyone there or what it looks like. So the next picture, that's our public beach. And the next picture, if the ones I sent, yeah, that's what it looks like up close. And you can tell better by the one that I handed out. It's in a little bit better detail. And the next one, I tried to use the panoramic thing on my phone, and I got a fair shot. But that's what it looks like. And the interesting part was, while I was there were 2 cars. I mean, I took 3 pictures real quick and left. But while I was there were 2 cars that came up full of kids, and they drove through. And one had a dog halfway, had its head out the window, and he was looking at the lake. And that car slowed down, and they looked at it, and they looked at it, and they drove right back out. And just as I was leaving, here come another second load of kids, and they went on out too. So kind of gives you an idea that it's a beautiful beach. You can see there the nice retaining wall that's there, and if you look at that one that really looks gunky there on the top right, you can see the buoys out there, the swim buoys, you know, out in the distance. So then I thought, well, we'll go down to Sandy Beach, see what it looks like. So I went down to Sandy Beach, and there was actually some people there. But if you look at the one picture there on the right-hand side of the handout, you can see where the algae start growing, and that's what my place looked like about 2 weeks ago. So it's, you know, it's going to grow. But you could tell the mom was saying, stay away from that algae, you know, move over this way. And you can see that they're using Sandy Beach. So then I went back and I thought, well, how about Camp Arroyo? Let's go see what it looks like. Well, there's Camp Arroyo. The two top pictures there are Camp Arroyo by their beach. And then yesterday when I was biking, I came back and I just had to pull over and take a picture of the whole lake. And if you look at those two last pictures there of the whole lake, they're on the bottom of your handout. Maybe you didn't get that one, Stephanie, but they're in the, oh, here it is, okay. That shows how far out, you see that white line that's going through, that shows how far out into the lake this algae goes. So I would admonish my staff if they came to me with this, because I always say, don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions. I don't have a solution at this point, but Vireo may have some. What I wanted to do is just give you pictures and to make sure that we don't put it on a back burner. I mean, there's a lot of things you could probably say. You could say it's a pay me now or pay me later deal, or you can say it's an asset and we don't want to turn into a liability. There's a whole lot of things you can say, but I wanted to keep it on the front burner as you're going through the process and when they come back with their suggestions on what we need to do. So thank you. That's all I got. Didn't come to take questions or ask anything. Just want to keep it.
Can I give you one question?
Yeah. Uh-oh.
You've been in here for 12 years.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever addressed anything about lakes, about the waterways or anything? Have you ever done anything, or what has Pierre or anybody done anything in the last 20 years to help this lake, not this lake, but all lakes in the state of South Dakota?
Well, there is a report. They usually work with the stability of the lakes, and they give a report to the legislature if there's dams or lakes that look like they may fail and then, cause harm. And then the legislature has the ability to say, well, we need to fix this one or we need to do something. So far as this type of thing, they work on individual basis, but I don't remember any, and maybe Mel could help me, but I don't remember any comprehensive water quality issues. There's several that have this issue, but being near a town, you would have like Madison, and I understand they've got a pretty tough problem too. And, the other part of the issue, we can always blame someone up the ladder or down the ladder, but it all takes money, and those are tough things. And, I look at, the people had vision when they built it, and that's got to be 90 to 100 years ago, somewhere in there. What is it, 28 that they put it in, something like that, to 30, somewhere in that neck of the woods. So so far as water, the Department of Water and Natural Resources does work with people on those things, but so far as any comprehensive legislation, I don't remember any.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, I'm glad that you brought this up because you're not the first person that has brought this to my attention, at least. I received an abundance of conversations and comments and pleas. And so I did talk to Nate today, I just gave him a heads up that I was going to ask him during public commentary to maybe address the lake. So this might be a good time for us to do that. To talk about what the status is and what our measures we're taking at this point. So could we piggyback on that right now as part of public commentary?
Sure, that'd be fine. There were some other pictures out there that One was a dog that had stuck his head in the, in the muck there, and then they took a picture of him, but anyway, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, KELO TV was here this morning too, and I interviewed with them out at the lake as well. I think Stephanie talked to him for a few minutes, and Nathan, you did too, I believe.
That's correct.
So there will be a little clip on TV tonight in KELO News. So I think it's going to be on tonight, maybe tomorrow night, but I think it's going to be on tonight.
It was on Calaland at 5, I see.
That's it, okay. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. So. And basically what I told them is, this is not a new problem. I mean, it's been an ongoing problem for years. It's just that this year is about a month earlier than normal. And so it's not an unanticipated or unexpected problem. It's an ongoing problem, and we are trying to address it. So you all know that.
Can Nate discuss or address this a little bit? I had asked if he'd talk about it during public comment. I was going to ask the question, but since it's already.
Certainly, and this is my first real experience with seeing how the lake behaves and really getting the smell and understanding what the problems are. And these are issues that we have to address. And I think the city's doing that with fire, as Mike mentioned. Basically, with fire, we are going through the engineering phase. Of course, this is some research that they're doing, and then they'll come and present this fall with hopefully some solutions, or at least what we're going to do in the next phase to fix some of these problems. And those would include in-lake solutions, watershed management practices, and also maybe holding ponds and things like that for the watershed. But we're waiting on them. So we're doing all we can right now, but what we've done is we've created the Watershed Advisory Committee and also the Technical Advisory Team, and they're actually meeting on Wednesday this week, and we've already met one official time prior to this meeting. And one of the things that came out of that was the Watershed Coordinator, that we're actually applied for that grant, and that grant was brought to our attention through those committees, and we got that submitted on time. They're also going to look at some low-hanging fruit for this year. There's just not much that we can do until fire has come back with their solutions. But the Technical Advisory Team and the Watershed Advisory Council, and I can report back after this meeting, will be coming up with some things we can do this year.
And I think one of my one of my big questions is, what are we doing today to protect the city, the citizens? Are the beaches closed? Have we, are we checking the water quality to see, those kinds of things? The fact that we have swimming is mildly alarming to me, but I just wanted to know what we're doing like today.
Yep.
To make sure that the community and the people that use our lake are safe.
Certainly, we're doing a weekly water test at our beaches, and at the campground also doing a center of the lake test just to get an idea of how things are coming. Everything is passed. Everything has been safe up until last Wednesday, but there's daily changes, and we don't have the resources to test daily right now. We're doing once a week. We send in the tests with the current conditions, and we'll know by this weekend. But we've also, through our policy, the Parks Board's developed, we're able to put out a watch with these conditions just based on what we see visually. So we don't really have to wait for the test results. If something comes up like it did on Sunday, we can get out there, get some signs out just to warn people. They can also go to the city's website on the Lake Mitchell page. There's some water quality conditions that put on there daily. So, and they also have our test results on there if anyone wants to see that, and a little bit more explanation on what we're testing for.
So we haven't closed the beaches at this point?
No, we haven't needed to, and I doubt the water was looking pretty good today. So I don't know that it could be a day thing, and when it gets that bad. But I assume that's going to progress from the history. It'll probably progress as we get closer to July. So it'll be up and down in June. And then once July hits, it'll probably get progressively worse. But we'll see. This is my first summer.
So citizens can go, like Nathan said, to the city's website. If you go to the top and you go under your government, and you would go under departments, sorry, apparently I can't click on this very well. You go on Parks and Recreation, and we are going to put a shortcut on the front page of the website as well. And if you go here to Lake Mitchell, you can see the water quality conditions. Oh my gosh. Let's see here. I have the web page blown up so big it's hard to navigate on it. And you can see that right now the watch is in effect. So if you want to see any other information, what those standards are, people can find it on there. We did also post it to our social media sites as well.
Thank you.
I'd like to add, I'm on the lake committee, and because of the fact that our lake is considered, I believe it's called endangered,
Impaired.
excuse me, and because of the fact that we are working with PIRA, the USDA is now working with our lake also on the watershed. This is the same government entity that was working or is working with Sioux Falls, their Skunk Creek area. They will be working with the people, and they have numerous programs for the people in the watershed area. Did I miss anything there?
No, and we have several agencies, state, federal, and local agencies on these committees working for solutions to fix Lake Mitchell.
So that's another plus that came our way because of the fact that we started being aggressive with Lake.
A lot of those funds that were going to Skunk Creek are now going to be diverted down to the fire sale. That's a plus.
Good evening, Mayor Tooney, fellow council members. I would just like to, my name is Dennis Kaus, and I'm here on behalf of the Mitchell Elks Lodge to present a check to the city for $5,000 to help purchase more solar-powered flashing speed limit signs to help with the schools. So we strongly support this project and hope to urge the council to see any way to help finish this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else for public input?
I've got one item. And last Wednesday, the city of Mitchell was recognized by the South Dakota Hall of Fame for an act of excellence. And we were recognized for our Smart 7 city contribution, not only to promoting the city of Mitchell, but for promoting the entire state of South Dakota. There were 7 other recipients at the award ceremony in Sioux Falls. And I briefly just want to let you know who they were. The South Dakota Symphony Orchestra was awarded for doing music therapy at the hospitals. Sister Teresa Wolf from Watertown was awarded for doing sex trafficking, dental hygiene, and English as a second language work with immigrants. Mary Jo Wagner Arboretum in Sioux Falls was awarded as the only one, private one in the state. Katie Day was an individual that was recognized when the little girl was killed on the Rosebud Reservation by the wild dogs 2 years ago. They started shooting dogs. She rented a U-Haul and went out and saved as many as she could and tried to find homes for them. And since then, she has gone back to that reservation and 2 others every year with veterinary help to help the dog population on the reservations. Stephen Pendergrass was probably the most touching award winner. He's an autistic young man who has found an outlet in video games that allows him to communicate. As he said, I'm almost normal when I'm playing video games. And in order to promote autism awareness, he got an arcade at the Western Mall in Sioux Falls to sponsor a fundraiser 3 years in a row, got donations, and he's raised over $20,000 for autism awareness and is able to participate in that. Unclaimed Freight and Action Furniture was recognized for giving 50 beds away and hosting a bed party at the Washington Pavilion for underprivileged kids in Sioux Falls. And Allie Weber was recognized. She's an 11-year-old Edison Middle School student who was a little upset when the middle schools in Sioux Falls outlawed backpacks for safety reasons. So everyone ended up carrying like a little satchel briefcase. And she thought that wasn't really the right thing to do because it was heavy. So she invented a strap that fit on the little satchel and went to a chiropractor and had it sized and made so that it would be correct and not ergonomically correct, so it wouldn't hurt the spine, that type of stuff. And she actually found somebody to make them and marketed them and sold them at the Edison Middle School. And she also had a friend that got frostbite, and she's invented a pair of gloves with detectors for frostbite. She's trying to market those also. So as an 11-year-old, she's already doing that. She just turned 12, but she was recognized for when she was 11 years old. So that group, along with the city of Mitchell, for our promotion of the broadband, and one of the other things that they specifically recognized was our weekly or bi-weekly newspaper articles about young professionals in town and why they chose to move back to Mitchell. And that was actually adopted by the state of South Dakota for some of their promotion things too. So I just wanted to let people know that Mitchell was recognized along with these other people from the South Dakota Hall of Fame. They do a recognition for acts of excellence every year, and we were nominated and received our award. So we got this award, and just wanted to make sure people were aware. Thank you.
Mike, are you back up to bat?
In answer to Dan's question, real quick, I left my cell phone at home, so I couldn't scour the internet, but there is a program, and you've all heard about it. They divide up that money that's available, and you'll hear it, rural water systems, towers, like we probably had here, got some money for that. You have sewer systems and things like that. So there is some money there, but it's not probably going to be enough. You maybe get a chunk or something if it's right, and I don't know what they do for this type of situation, if it has to be for potable water or sewers or not. I'm not sure, Dan.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, we'll talk about the Public Health and Safety Committee report.
Public Health and Safety met at 6:30. We had one agenda item. It was the Exchange Club fireworks display on the 4th of July. It will be located at the same spot, have the appropriate public safety, roads blocked off, fire trucks available, etc. Motion was approved, voice vote, and we adjourned at 6:34.
Move to approve the committee report.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is hearings on the application of the Palace City Lions Club for a special event malt beverage license located on Main Street between 6th and 7th Avenues, including the Corn Palace Courtyard, for downtown Thursday for the following dates on July 6th, August 3rd, and September 7th.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is the hearing on the application of Bates Enterprise doing business as One-Eyed Jack's Casino, 1401 North Main Street, Suite 108, Mitchell, to transfer a retail on-sale liquor license RL-5764 to include Sunday sales to Bates Enterprise doing business as Brew Parlor, 400 North Main, Suite 210, Mitchell, South Dakota.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Entertaining motion for the city council to recess and sit as the Board of Adjustment.
Second.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to set the date for a Board of Adjustment hearing, 6/19/2017. Randy Wittstruck is requesting an oversized variance of 2,400 square feet versus 2,000 square feet as required for construction of a detached garage. The property is legally described as Lot 134, Overlook Addition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota, 615 South Kimball Street, Zone R3, Medium Density Residential District.
Set the date.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is the action to set the date for the Board of Adjustment hearing for 6/19/2017. Mitchell Power Equipment, LLC, Larry Parcher and Gordon and Darlene Bailey are making an application for a conditional use permit for operation of a service center for small engine or motorized engine repair and outdoor sales and storage. The property is legally described as west 51.2 feet of lots 1 and 2A, Block 12, Original Edition, 113/115 East 2nd Avenue, and Lot 16, Block 12, Original Edition, 118 North Main Street, all in the city of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota. Property is zoned CB, Central Business District.
Move to set the date.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Hearing on Doug Daly, 1408 North Sanford Boulevard, variance. Doug Daly, applicant, has applied for a backyard variance of 4 feet versus 25 feet as required to construct a professional office building at 1408 North Sanford Boulevard, legally described as Lot 7 and 8, Block 13, Capital Edition, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota. The property is zoned R4, High Density Residential District.
Mayor and council members, just also I'm going to take a quick footnote, since Mr. Smith is gone, that this would require 6 votes, so just to make this was presented to the Planning Commission at their last regular meeting. You would see in your materials, there's a elevation and a site plan and a map showing where this property is. Basically, it's on the corner of Sanborn and West 14th, almost directly south of Daily Dental, and that vacant lot. Right there, there's a fence that's been installed, and so that's where Mr. Daly wishes to construct a office building. The property is zoned R4, so professional office building is a conditional use permit. And then the way I interpreted it is that he would have needed a variance because he's going to use Sanborn as his is going to be addressed. However, the Planning Commission, after reviewing this request, determined since the plots do go north and south, and if this was a residential, if it was a house, then the setback would have been 3 feet. And so that was their determination that a variance would not be, or would be either granted or not applicable. So that was the Planning Commission's determination in regards to the variance. So did I paraphrase that correctly, or do I stand corrected? Or?
I think the Planning Commission decided that the variance was required because
Yeah.
he was using Sanborn as his address.
Right.
He's on a corner lot, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'm guessing it's a lot more beneficial for the business to have a Sanborn address, be more recognizable for potential clients. So because he wants the Sanborn address, he needs the variance to give him the clearance he needs for that rear yard setback. If he chose the address on, is it
14th?
14th? If he chose to have the address on 14th, he would meet all the setbacks and wouldn't need a variance at all. So the only reason he needs the variance is because he chose to have the address on the other street.
I noticed the vote was 4-2. The 2 votes against, was that just philosophical, we've got a code and we're not?
That could be,
variances?
that probably, yeah, I'd hate to put words in their mouth, but I would suspect that's part of it.
It just said 4-2.
4-2, there was 2 of my malays on there.
I believe it was.
They didn't say no reason, they just said it's
Yeah.
4-2 and it passed.
Yep.
Well, my understanding was exactly what was explained, and so,
Right.
to me, it's a fight over nothing, and I was just wondering why there were 2 votes against it. If you just switch the addresses, there'd be nothing, but anyway.
And I do know the building just to the south of this that is the
Yeah, light.
foundation
Yep.
building. Its address is 14th Avenue. It is not a Sanborn address. That did the exact same thing. It used to be Dice Financial, now it's
Right.
the foundation. Their address is 14th, not Sanborn.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying
I
aye.
just had a question. I noticed that there was some neighbors, the Ringlings, that opposed it. do we have an answer to the concern over flooding?
Maybe I'll let Don, you want to, or Doug, I'm sorry, address that if you've had any conversations with him since.
Good evening, everyone, Mayor, Councilman, Doug Daly. Gary Ringling had an issue with, he was concerned about drainage, I guess was his issue with that. We did discuss it. I believe it's been resolved, actually. Right now, the lot is lower than his, and so his drainage goes on to this particular lot. In fact, he drains his water onto that. So, but we agreed that we'd slope everything away, and so I believe it's been, I believe it's been resolved myself, anyway.
I just wanted to make sure that that had been at least addressed.
Oh, we've had conversations with Gary. He is relatively reasonable to get along with, and so I've even met out there and walked through the measurements with him too, so.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is a hearing on Doug Daly, 1408 Sanborn Boulevard. Doug Daly, applicant, has applied for a conditional use permit to construct a professional office building at 1408 North Sanborn Boulevard, legally described as Lot 7 and 8, Block 13, Capital Edition, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota. The property is zoned R4, High Density Residential District.
Move to approve.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Entertaining motion for the Board of Adjustment to adjourn and the City Council to reconvene in regular session.
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is to approve an engineering agreement number A2017-15 for 6th Avenue City Project number 2016-18.
Tim McGannon. A couple of meetings ago, we informed you that SPN, together with Confluence, had submitted a contract request, I believe, for $76,000 to do the staking and administration and testing on the project outside of our front door at City Hall in the Corn Palace, 6th Avenue, the Corn Palace Plaza, and Main Street. Stephanie and I felt that contract was excessive and sent it back to them. It came back $12,000 less, so it's now at $64,000. And it is a floating number. That's the construction administration is normally an estimate, and normally it won't come in at exactly that. I would expect it actually to come in slightly less than that. But we're asking to approve that contract now for $64,000.
Tim, this was part of our original bid, correct?
I don't know what you mean by original
In
bid.
876.
Yeah, it's part of the original financing.
Yeah, okay.
I did show this. When you looked at your total budget, when you did the bid award, I included a cost for this, and I had it at Tim's full level. So you can see right here, the construction phase services at $64,000 with the total expenses at $818.
Okay.
So it was included in the budget that you saw when you did the bid award. We just didn't have the contract finalized because of that negotiation.
And the floating cost is because they'll be on site while the project is in process, and once the project is done, then they're done with their monitoring.
Right, and what we usually see is during the design, if they give us a number, that's the number. But during the construction administration, that's a floating number because if the contractor gets done early, or if we don't need as many tests, they don't bill us for those.
Okay, thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is the action to approve agreement number A2017-16, an agreement for design services for intersection renovations.
Council and Mayor, in your packet was a staff report explaining this agenda item request. At the April 24th work session, we discussed a phased down approach or a stepped back approach to the Main Street improvements, the streetscape improvements, to clarify that. What the discussion was at that meeting was looking at what we could do at Third and Main as an enhanced intersection, and then a scaled back version of something for the remaining intersections. This would tie the work that's being done in front of the Corn Palace to the rest of Main Street. And the discussion that we had at that time was the city doing the infrastructure improvements, the curb and gutter and drainage, those kind of things. And then Main Street would be looking at a way to fund any of the enhancements that they would look at adding within those places. So if they were going to add a statue or a clock or things like that, that's something that they would do out of their bid or whatever financing resources that they pursue in the future. When we first did, to explain this a little bit, when we first did the Corn Palace Plaza, we originally were looking at doing an expanded area, which we scaled that back to just looking at the 6th Avenue area. Because of that, there's about $8,750 that is left on that contract that's also included in the Corn Palace Plaza budget. And so what I'm asking for is to utilize those funds with up to an additional $1,500 of contingency. And that would get us a schematic design for each of those intersections. It would give us a typical cost for the scaled back ones as well as a cost for the 3rd and Main intersection. They'd also be working with SPN to look at storm sewer drainage, those kind of issues, as well as traffic, especially with the change in directional traffic there. You want to make sure that you still have the clearance needed. It's still going to require council decision and action whether or not you choose to put this in the 2018 budget or the 2019 budget. At that time, you'll have to go do full design specifications at that time. But this will give us a close cost estimate and that typical schematic design, that kind of first step of what things will look like.
Stephanie, what do you mean scaled back for the other streets?
I can't remember. I thought we had everybody there, but maybe that wasn't the case. My understanding, the original streetscape plan design was up to $3 million. It included some improvements on the far south end of Main, where the depot parking lot is. It had those curb bump outs on every intersection. It had various landscaping features throughout Main Street. Main Street, Mitchell Main Street and beyond, and I don't want to talk to them. I'm sure, yeah, Jen's back there too. I'm sure they could come up and speak for this additionally, but knowing that cost was quite high, what they did as a group is they had a subcommittee put together that looked at what were some other options that they could do to bring that cost back. And from that, their first priority came, okay, we've got Corn Palace Plaza now at the north end of Main Street. We've got the Veterans Park on the south end of Main Street. Let's focus on that 3rd and Main intersection as a way to kind of tie the north and south ends of Main Street together. Have that be the enhanced intersection with the curb bump outs. And then we could find a way to tie those other intersections down. So you would not be seeing those large bump out intersections on every block like the original plan had. It's just a scaled back version to still give us what we feel would be a completed streetscape that we can continue to add features to, but that can be done financially. We'd be looking at staging it so that maybe start with that 3rd and Main intersection and do that out of entertainment tax funding with, we passed an increase on ticket sales and other items, so we'd be using some of those funds to try to finance that. And we'll have the plan done. So then as you can afford it, you can continue to add those features on Main Street.
Stephanie, and you said we'll have the plan. And so if we approve this, we'll have that target cost for budget purposes?
Right. That's so that we would have an actual number to be using during
don't
budget.
Want to get it in October.
Yep. Nope. That was what my instruction was, is we would have to have a cost to use for budget time.
And I have had calls today, 2 of them this afternoon, late this afternoon, and as long as it's in the budget and we get to vote on it, that's all I ask. And I told them I'm sure we would. So it's up or it's down, and they did want to know if this
It's got to go through the budget process before.
And they did want to know if this was for infrastructure too, and it is.
Yep. And the other thing is you may find out that some of these may get cost prohibitive. We don't know, but you'll have an actual number to put in your budget. It won't just be a guess estimate. It'll be based on a schematic design.
What I did have other people say in the last weeks is, how does curb breakouts bring more people into town? They don't see it. So maybe Main Street and beyond can come up and answer that question. How do you get new customers with new breakouts?
Well, and what I
don't
can,
see it.
and maybe
don't see it in my business.
maybe before Jeff goes to, part of the intention of the streetscape and having that consistent look and feeling like we've completed the project and that you've tied both ends of the street together. Now when people are coming, it's like they're arriving at a place versus kind of seeing a segmented approach. I don't know if it's necessarily to drive business. You can answer that. But from my perspective, from a community perspective, we need to look at Main Street as another community gathering space, just like we do our parks and other quality of life. And it ties everything together so it feels like it's a finished project now.
Well, I sat down with the James Valley Community Center members there last week, and there isn't one of them that were happy about it. So maybe you can go ahead and talk to them and have meetings with them, and I didn't hear none of them liked it.
And I think it'll also be advantageous when the public can see the final design in front of the Corn Palace and how the pedestrian safety is improved too. So it's good that we have a little bit of time to show how that ends up too before you put it into the budget.
And I think Main Street can take on some of that responsibility of talking with them too and explaining it. This is not going to help any one business or necessarily directly bring customers. What it will do, I think this is a good example of government and community organizations working together, in this case Main Street and beyond, and improving, in the marketing survey and in the last several surveys that we've done for various reasons, the city or the chamber or Main Street have done, downtown has been one of our weak points, kind of like in that intelligent cities. And rather than be a detriment, if we can improve the appearance, and it's a quality of life issue, that we have a downtown that we're proud of, rather than being a detriment. And as far as the money thing and the return on investment, it will be there from the sense that we have a problem right now, and we've had it for at least 20 years. We've been arguing about the tourists come to Main Street, and it isn't all about tourists, but this part of it. The tourists come to Main Street and they look down, or to the Corn Palace, they look down Main Street and they don't want to go there. Because if you look at Main Street from the Corn Palace with city eyes, when you've been in a city and you look down the street and you determine, is this safe for me to go down or not? And what's the upkeep, what's the maintenance, what's the curb and gutter and those things look like? And those people are told this is not a safe neighborhood. And they don't realize that this is our Main Street. And we have a lot of anecdotal of tourists asking, where's your Main Street? Well, this is it. And so if we can improve that, yes, we can improve the traffic that goes through the entire town. That helps keep our stores alive, provides the jobs and that kind of thing. So I think, and that's the goal, is it with the anchor of the Veterans Park at the south end, with the Corn Palace and the plaza here, and the 3rd and Main. It's an attractive area that people want to visit, not only tourists, but our local people, that they want to walk down the street. They feel safe. They feel it's livable. It's a whole quality of life issue. And that's where the benefit is. And it turns one of our, unfortunately, a negative in Mitchell into a strong positive.
Just to add what you're saying there, Jeff, I remember going over across the street to a meeting about a year ago over at the chamber, and there was a woman standing across the street, and she asked me, she says, sir, she says, where's your Main Street at? And I says, excuse me? I thought she was playing with me, and she says, where's your Main Street at? I says, this is it. She says, really? Is it safe to walk down this Main Street? And, that was one thing that I learned at a conference that I went to a year and a half ago, where they talked about what you're saying there, the appearance of Main Street, drawing people to Main Street. It's got to feel safe. And they emphasize, the appearance of your streetscape, your buildings, and your lighting. So it is all crucial because it's the heart of our city.
That's right. And
goes hand in hand with what you're saying.
Yeah, and with the city doing this part, the infrastructure, which the city normally does, Main Street Beyond is working on the bid, which we're restructuring as this plan evolves. So it's a different plan from a year ago. But we'll be able to afford and put some of our money in a couple of areas. One is some of the additional things, the decorative things, like Stephanie said, the statuary, the clocks, or whatever we do. The other thing we'll be able to do is we can set up a grant fund that will help the owners improve the facades of these buildings. A lot of them, not the fault of the current owners, but it's just, masonry buildings have a life expectancy of 80 to 100 years. That's about where all our buildings are. So they need some work. They need some tuck pointing. They need new windows, energy efficiency, and just workability. The woods are getting old. So between our no-interest loan fund that we have now, with the addition of a grant fund, suddenly it becomes economically feasible for someone to invest in these buildings, where before the numbers were so high, you couldn't make the numbers work. So with the work of Main Street and Beyond on setting up a bid district, which we hope to get through, and we think this will make it easier for those property owners to vote for, we can do it. And along with code enforcement, with everything working together, I think we can turn this around within a few years. So.
And Jeff, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was a big discussion point that I missed from the work session. That partnership, that this is an opportunity for us to do the project both at the same time, so you can see a bigger impact at once, versus everybody spending money on a bigger main streetscape program and now having no funding left to help with the buildings. We feel like by taking a step down approach towards the streetscape and Main Street having the flexibility to do the grant program for the facades, you're going to see a bigger change happen in a shorter amount of time than you would have having all of those funds going into a bigger streetscape program.
And then still have the other problem, so, yeah. Right.
And I'd like to just add one other thing that I see happening as we go ahead with this, is that as we beautify that area downtown, it will, right, currently we have quite a few open places that aren't being utilized and that aren't being, trying to fit this in a positive spin. There's not a good positive spin to no one's using the buildings. But I do think that as we beautify that and as the traffic flow continues to grow to our downtown area, that other businesses will see that as a positive place to plant their businesses. And I think it'll be a ripple effect. And I think that this is something that, once we take the leap and invest this money, that it will be, you'll see, like I said, a trickle effect where it continues to blossom and grow and improve and beautify our city. So.
Yeah, I think this project, everything, all the steps we're taking between the city and Main Street will fill those vacancies and make the buildings worth investing into, and we'll see a synergism out of it, so.
Very well put. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Dan.
Clay?
I don't know if you guys have taken a look at like Brookings lately or anything like that, because Brookings has been highlighted as a great point of view for Main Street. And they have these curved streetscapes like we're talking about here. And I think it's a great point to say that they have the best Main Street in South Dakota, according to a lot of different people. And I think we should use them as an example of why this probably should be done. And I don't think we should look at it as a parkscape type thing. Like I visited with the same people that Dan Allen did the other day at the James Valley Community Center, and they see it as a park. And I think we're marketing it kind of wrong in that aspect. We need to improve our Main Street. And every time election season comes around, we say we will, but we need to take that leap and actually do it. And I think that using Brookings as an example and downtown Sioux Falls as an example for that streetscape area, I think this is a good leap for that. And especially if using Phillips Avenue in that area as a good example, people feel safe on Phillips Avenue. Why don't they feel safe on Main Street? It might take a little bit of money and a little bit of push to do it, but I don't see anything wrong with that.
Good. Thank you, Clay.
Stephanie, I've got a question. You talked about clocks and statues and things like that. Is that something that the city would have some editorial control
I would
over?
assume that the council would have last say if it's our right of way.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is, the city controls the street, but the buildings are private enterprise. And so, even if we make the street look more attractive, it's going to be up to those individual building owners to make their individual properties attractive.
And I think what Mitchell Main Street and Beyond had talked about is if they do that grant program that's funded through a bid district that they established, that they would have some criteria that the business owner would have to meet in order to get those grant funds. So it'd either have to go to a historical nature or meet the criteria that group sets out for the funding.
Yeah, the only reason I mention this is I've had some people who have business in other parts of the city saying we're important too, and if you're going to prop up this business, then you should prop up our business. And I just want to make very clear that we're dealing with what our responsibilities are with the infrastructure in the street. We're not actually subsidizing a business or improving the building or anything of that nature.
Ken?
Jen Johnston, Mitchell Main Street and Beyond. Just wanted to clarify, our bid, we will be taxing the owners that live down here, and they'll be the only ones that be able to utilize some of the potential grant funds that would come available. So those people that are outside of Zone 1 and Zone 2, they're not putting money into the bid, therefore not getting the money to fix up their buildings. We don't know exactly. In our streetscape plan and when we had came up with a bid, we were trying to raise approximately $90,000 every single year is what we were going to do by taxing owners in Zone 1 and Zone 2. It's all mapped out. If you want those details, talk to me later. But approximately $90,000. Now what we're trying to work through is with that $90,000, do we utilize $20,000 of it for banners and park benches and historical clocks and statues and the pretties of the world, and utilize the other $70,000 for those folks to fix up some of their windows that code enforcement has been talking to them about, instead of utilizing our Main Street, not instead of utilizing our revitalization plan, but taking both options. They could receive a $10,000 grant that they don't have to pay back. That's going to help everyone. Yes, it's going to help the owner. It's going to help the owner across the street. It's going to, like Jeff said, hopefully beautify Main Street within the next 2 to 3 years, than us going out trying to raise $90,000 a year to try and fund the infrastructure project. So
Yeah, I understand that, and I think that's admirable, but, you know, you don't get to dictate what people care about, and I'm not trying to be rude, but this discussion has led people to say, okay, well, what about all these empty clinics that Avera's bought up and now these buildings are empty? What about Penny's that just moved out in the empty mall? What about the Kmart building? And
they
so
need to
I
create a
just wanted-
bid board.
Well, and I just wanted to make clear that
Yep.
the city is, if you know, Kmart needs their street attended to, we will be happy to do that. But we are not improving the Kmart building. We aren't, you know, so just so people understand that the city is not in the business of, we're going to support this one and tell these people to go to hell. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yep.
And Mel, I should have made that more clear in the beginning, because I do know that that was a concern that the full council said when this first discussion started 3 years ago, which is why we looked at this redoing what the proposal was. So the city is just funding that infrastructure improvement on a much scaled back version and using that entertainment tax if possible to do that.
And I think, Mel, to elaborate your point, that's correct. And what Main Street will be doing, the money we're raising, believe me, it's hard to talk a business owner into voluntarily raising his taxes, but with the hope of getting some of it back. And I think for those people in other parts of town, and I agree, we need, you know, as rising waters raise all ships. I mean, that's good. But if, say, the mall, the old Super City area, feels they need to improve, they can set up a bid district in that area too, or Haven Street or any other neighborhood. So I hope that, you know, neighborhood things don't hold us back. I know in years past, we've sometimes had these neighborhood squabbles. Well, why are you doing that for here? And, you know, I had to buy my own parking lot. Well, that doesn't apply downtown because you can't tear down the building next to you and build a parking lot big enough. You have to tear down 3 of them. So because of the nature of downtowns, we have a different set of circumstances. But this, as far as our part, the bid, we're truly taxing ourselves. As far as the city's part, these are improvements the city would be making anyway, on the curb, the gutter, the sewers, the sidewalks. And as you walk the street, you suddenly see that we have a need to do that. And so rather than doing it in looking like a warehouse district, now it's being done with some foresight, so it'll be attractive. So.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I think having a good-looking Main Street is important when people come in. And you don't know who comes in. Maybe, you know, the next Sam Walton comes in on vacation and is looking for some place to invest. So clearly there are some places in town that are more important to the city visually than others. Main Street is one, Sanborn's another, Burr Street's another, where people are coming in and looking. So I'm not minimizing the importance, but what I'm trying to do is minimize the calls I'm going to get after this meeting.
Thank you.
And can I just point out one other thing? Historically, that I think might shed some light, because I don't know if everyone's aware of it. But in the past, prior to the bid, the Mitchell Main Street and Beyond has already had a zero interest loan that they have given people that they could use to improve their facades and their buildings that have been used. And those people have then paid back their no interest loan, and that money has gone and kept going and benefited other businesses. So the fact that people were willing to use a loan makes me extremely optimistic that they are going to grab hold of the opportunity to use this grant to really make some improvements. I think that this is just taking a giant leap forward from where you've already been, which I think has been very generous and very proactive. So I just thought that was good to know.
Couple things. I just want to check on the condition of those corners as far as needing, and maybe Tim, you can answer this one for me. Those corners that we're talking about here on Main, what are we looking at as far as time frame, as far as what you would project as far as need for replacement, irregardless?
Well, downtown, particularly Railroad Avenue, First Avenue, Second, Third, Fourth, and now Fifth from Main Street East have all been rebuilt. Well, First Avenue was about 1992. They've all been rebuilt since that time. Water, sewer, and street. Main Street was rebuilt just before I came. I think that number is about 1988. We feel for the most part the infrastructure is in good shape in those. They all have plastic pipe, for example. 6th Avenue had not been rebuilt, and we ran into some problems doing that this year, but we have started at Railroad, gone all the way up to 5th so far. Raleigh has been rebuilt. So I think those intersections we're talking about are in, I won't say perfect shape, not even excellent shape, but they're in good shape.
So time frame, I mean, we're talking, I don't think we're talking about doing anything here as far as changing water lines, sewer lines, any of that type of thing. I think what I understand is we're talking curb bump outs, we're talking curb, gutter, that type of thing.
Right.
When would you normally project that those would need to be replaced irregardless? I'm putting you on the spot here, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, what?
But I want to be able to make, excuse me, I didn't have my microphone on. I want to be able to make an informed decision, and I know when we talked budget last year, you know, one of the things money was tight, and we were working on what we need, not what we want. And I mean, I think this entire project sounds like a fabulous project, don't get me wrong, but I also know that there's a difference between need and want. And I don't want to commit the council this year, the council next year, you know, any council to, you know, doing infrastructure, curb, gutter, whatever it might be, because of what I make, you know, because of the decision that we make tonight. And I also don't want to use the city's money in a fluffy manner. And I'm going to call it, you know, for doing something pretty. Because I do know that we have a lot of needs coming up. We've got a brand new pool that we're putting in. I know that the recreational center needs a lot of improvements. I know from what we looked at the last meeting that NSPN gave us a large listing of $60 million worth of improvements that our water industry needs, or our water, anyway, our watering system needs. You know, so, yeah, we're not talking a lot of money here for, you know, hiring somebody to do the architectural design, but is this something that you consider is going to be needed in the near future?
Main Street curb and gutter itself is about 30 years old by my reckoning. I would expect curb and gutter to last about 50 years with some sections replaced over that 50 years. After 50 years, we'd probably want to be looking at it. So we're probably in a range of within 20 years, we would want to rebuild some of that infrastructure, the surface.
Yeah, if I could add to that, and I don't want to contradict Tim at all, I agree. It was sometime in the 80s. I was thinking 83 to 85 in there. It was traumatic when we went through it, but I mean, we are talking 35 years ago. And if you walk up and down the street on both sides, what you see is there's a lot of heaving, there's some sinking, there's cracked sidewalks, and some of that's from South Dakota weather, but some of the others from trucks going over it and various damage. That were they in front of your home, the building inspector would probably be painting them that you need to replace this. So I think, as Tim said, there are areas. When we first started the project and we got the $3 million bid a couple of years ago, I thought, gee, maybe we can leave the sidewalks. I mean, we did them in the 80s, and I thought it was early 80s. And then I walked up and down the street, and I said, no, these have to be done. So, but it is true.
Yeah, and the sidewalks were done in 94, and yeah, we do paint and replace those as need.
Yep, and some of the sidewalks, I know at the theater, we had to replace a bunch of our sidewalks that were done after only about 5 or 10 years. So sometimes it's quality of the concrete and, you know, some other things where we had to redo them because we had deterioration because of the wrong mix. The concrete out of the South Dakota cement plant isn't quite as good. At least that's what I've been told by the contractors, or the excuse they use. So if you look at the sidewalks and you examine them, I think a lot of them, yeah, some sections are good, other sections aren't. There's a lot of patchwork now, so.
And Bev, to clarify, if we were doing a rebuild of this road, we wouldn't be doing this out of entertainment tax. That would come out of the water fund for the water and sewer infrastructure. That's not something we'd be talking about paying for out of entertainment tax. The reason why this is a much scaled down version is to try to get an end result. So the city's not sitting with another project that we've started and not completed. You know, you've got the first half, or the north half of Main Street, you've got Veterans Park on the south. This was just an effort to try to tie them together in a way that would be less costly, that still makes us feel like we completed the project. And when the city changed the ordinance on entertainment tax, which was, it feels like 2 years ago, that was just last year, because it went into effect January 1st. That was one of the things that the city council said during that hearing, is that this gives us an opportunity to provide some additional revenue to potentially get that funding stream. So that's the only reason why it was brought up also at the work session. This isn't something that we would have competing against like a Sanborn reconstruction. That's got to happen. That's happening out of our general fund taxes and water and sewer and those normal funding streams. That's why we're proposing this just out of entertainment tax.
So if I understand this, $1,500 is going to come out of contingency. The rest of it's already in the budget.
Right.
Right?
We're talking about 15,
And
yeah.
this is strictly for a design. The council still has time moving forward.
Yep. Right,
By the way,
exactly.
For now, no, we don't like it.
Right.
Right.
So it's, the biggest thing we're committing outside of budget is $1,500 at this point.
Right, and then you're going to get a schematic design with a cost estimate, the traffic, the sewer,
I'm
drains, the storm sewer.
somewhat concerned with, you know, like Bev, that, you know, and I said it at the work session, that I want to see the buildings full. I want to make sure before, if we have a pretty Main Street or a nice Main Street, that there's places to go down there. It's something to draw the people in. You know, it's nice to have a good-looking Main Street, but if the businesses are half full,
And
that's
you-
not maybe
yeah.
a good use of city money.
And you as council might get the schematic design with the cost estimates back and say, okay, let's do Third and Main. And then from there, we're going to see how Main Street's bid comes in, and then we'll look at doing those other intersections that connect the two together. You're going to have flexibility to choose those options of what you put into budget, and you may not, you know, the cost might be too expensive when you get that back.
I have a related but unrelated question. Have we looked at, with the bump outs here in front of the Corn Palace and the 6th Avenue, have we talked about plowing at all? I mean, what this would do to, you know, guys plowing the snow, and a lot of times when you're plowing, you're kind of guessing where the streets are, at least in the initial run.
Yes, that has been discussed, and it will be more difficult. We'll likely do a lot of the block in front of the Corn Palace now with a with a loader and move that to the middle. It will be more difficult to plow.
I will tell you that when this came up during the planning session for 6th Avenue Plaza, I sent out a email survey to all the cities in South Dakota that had done this, and I provided that. I can get that again. Everyone said that at first, they heard a lot of complaints from the street departments in their individual cities about what the timing was going to be, but that it's really virtually made no change to their operations, and they don't regret doing it. So, and we're only talking about one intersection having those bump outs now, not all of them like the original plan.
You heard the same thing at Brookings, too, didn't you, Stephanie? When you
Yeah, that was one of them that responded. I think it was Brookings, Aberdeen. I'll get that out again and I can send that around.
Lastly, just wanted to say, big picture wise, this is the time to do this. We've been dabbling in the streetscape project in this bid for the past almost 5 years now, since Main Street came out with their streetscape plan, and this partnership could push us over the top. And it's very exciting for us, but it's also nerve-wracking with an election coming up tomorrow that we need pro-Main Street counselors out here. And we're excited to go back out to our business owners who in the past have said, no, I don't want to increase my taxes for you to put in a pretty street when we can't fix up the buildings that we already have down here. So honestly, it's a win-win situation. We're hopeful. We've been working with some of the property owners. We've even talked to investors in other cities. And frankly, we're behind the times. Like we talked about Brookings and Sioux Falls, that's bigger city, but Brookings and Aberdeen and some of the other towns more our size are doing a heck of a good job with it. And we're still here spinning our wheels, but this could be the time.
For all you young people out there, the Main Street lighting project and the sidewalks that went in 94 was part of the Vision 2000 process, also came through Main Street. So what we're replacing or remodeling was also a vision for downtown. And I think the vision you're looking at now is a better vision.
Move to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is action on resolution number R2017-38, a plat of lots 13A and 14, and a replat of Track E Wild Oak Golf Club addition to the city of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
This plat was presented to the Planning Commission for their review, and they did recommend approval. Basically, why there is one of the parties is transferring some land to the other party. That's why it's doing that. I believe part of 13 is going to be split, given to 14. So that's part of what it is.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is an action on resolution R2017-39, a plat of Lot 7, Block 5 of Woodland Heights, First Edition, a subdivision of Lot 2 of Cranes Edition in the southeast quarter of Section 34, T103 North, R60 West of the 5th PM, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Again, this was presented to the Planning Commission at their last regular meeting and did recommend approval. This would be the first one in that Cottonwood Circle. You may recall some time ago when they platted the road in, and so now they're trying to finish that development up.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is an action on resolution R2017-40, vacation of public right-of-way described as the north half, one half of East Andrew Street, abutting Block 21, Weaver Squares addition, an addition to the city of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota, as shown on the plat recorded March 1st, 2016, Book 32, page 3. This portion of East Andrew Street has also been described historically as Avenue K East and Avenue K, and there was a motion to table until August the 7th, 2017.
This is per the person making the request. They had some issues come up and they wanted to resolve it with their board, so they.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is an action to approve resolution R2017-41, cancel outstanding checks.
This is just, yeah, it's just cleaning up the checks outstanding from last year yet. One was a utility billing customer with no forwarding address, and the other is a terminated employee with no forwarding address.
How hard do we try to find them?
We looked through our records. I asked the departments it affects to see, what information they have.
To hire somebody to find them, it doesn't make any financial sense. But, we used to do this like once a year. Are we doing it now every 180 days?
No, once a year. I do them June, July, every year. We just did it I think it was July last year I did it.
I'm
But
just shocked because,
these were past the 6 months, so I thought I'm going to just do them and get them done now.
yeah, because usually, there's, not that there's pages and pages, but there's usually a lot more than this. So I thought it was a change in policy, but what do you attribute to the great collection then? Your awesome leadership? Or?
Yes, let's go with that.
Flexion of muscles.
Well, this is outstanding checks instead of outstanding bills.
Exactly.
true.
It's-
Yeah, that's true.
So they are
So-
taking our money, but
Yeah.
on a more
Motion to
timely
approve.
basis.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is a second reading of ordinance O2017-06, a supplemental appropriation ordinance for FY 2017 for the city of Mitchell.
Move to put on second reading.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I just had a couple of questions about the campground. Is there anything you can tell us about some of the things that you plan to do with the money, this, like the $16,000 repair and maintenance or the minor equipment? What is that going to be for?
I didn't bring the budget of what we spent. Most of it was startup funds to take it back over. A lot of the things left that we had to replace and get it going again. I don't have the list with me though, but we've done, quite a bit of improvements, within the campground. So.
Great. Take care. Thanks.
I did get a question on that, and I can't remember if it was the city councilor or if it came from the public, but the reason why you only do the supplemental appropriation for the expenditure is because you can't overspend your expense budget, but we can get more revenue in. So the revenue is there to offset it. You can see what the estimated revenue was to offset the expenditure. I just want to make sure people know we aren't spending general fund money or anything like that. It is coming from money generated at the campground.
At our next work session, I'd like to have a discussion on what it's going to take to get rid of this tar baby. What, if repealing the entire vote that happened 6-8 years ago, whatever it was, that made the water treatment plant and the National Guard, in addition to the other things they wanted to make parkland, or if we can just take off the campground and I would like to make it a vote of the people and put it on November 2018 ballot or something. But anyway, this is not the time, but I'd like to have this discussion because we were having a sidebar. It's fine to spend this money, but are we going to get the $90,000 back?
Because it's set up as an enterprise fund, it's the revenue and the expenditures all come into the same fund, and it has to be self-supporting. There isn't another revenue stream to support it, so if it's not there, it has to be there before they can spend the money.
I want to clarify that it is and has been self-supporting.
Well, before, it was leased out.
Right,
So
right.
we had expenses coming out of the Park and Rec fund, and we had revenue going to the campground operator. And then they paid us a lease fee. So was it self-supporting before? No, because we were spending more in maintenance than we were in the lease that we were getting in.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. I want to know where we were at with that. But I guess I really would like to see what happens this year, and because this is going to be our first year.
Yep.
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with the city operating what has been the city's campground for this many years. And if we can get it to be a profitable,
Self-supporting.
yes, I think it's wonderful that we can offer that then as a city, that we actually have a city campground connected to our city lake, and hopefully we can see the improvements to the lake and to the campground, and in time find it to be a real asset then for our city having all of this. I know the Lake Committee has talked about different things that they would like to see as enhancements for it there. And people look to that city campground as a secure place to go to, as a place that they know that they can camp and feel comfortable. They like the fact that there's playground equipment out there near. You know, I think it is and can be an asset. And I would just, I'm not going to be on the council here to make any further decisions when when it comes to next year. But I would just like to ask that those that are on the council, please consider it. And it's not a matter of that a city can't own and operate an entity like this, because most cities have something where they're making profit from. And if we can turn this around and have it become profitable, let's at least give it a chance. And let's see what happens with it now, since we have taken it over and we are looking at doing things differently. Thank
And
you.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but you, in my vision, you would have a say, even though you were off the council, because we're talking about having an election. Do people want to continue to be in a business and compete with the private business if we're losing money? Or by the same token, if we're making money,
right,
should we be making the money as opposed to KOA or any of the other campgrounds in town? And I think that's a decision that 8 people shouldn't make. I think that's a decision the community should make.
And Mel, fall might be a good time because for a work session in the fall, because we will have them 1 year of operation that you guys could look at that time too. So I'll just put that on my tracker for you guys to keep track of.
Yeah, and I don't think the city has been a bad partner, not necessarily partner, so to speak, in the camping environment. I don't think we've ever said anything or been detrimental in any way to any of the, I think all the other campgrounds around here have, special things that they do offer. But I do think that the city has to have some things where we make money so that we can't, and things like that can make money. We can't just depend on the taxpayers' money to fund everything that we do and don't want to do. So I do see us needing these types of enterprise funds to float the boats for these for some of the things that we want to do as a city.
Put it on second reading, but we haven't voted to put it on second reading.
Okay.
Motion is, we had a motion and a second, though, correct?
Second reading.
Okay. And we're done with discussion, but shouldn't it be public discussion before we have a final vote?
Well, we need to vote on it on the second reading, and then we can have
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried? Okay.
Second.
Discussion. Public comment. Hearing none. Roll call.
Olson.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Tronis.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Barrington.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Charts.
Oh, this next one's a long one, so I'm going to read it real fast, I think. Second reading and adoption of ordinance 02-17-07, an ordinance of the city of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota, that changes the zoning district classification of the real property legally described as Block 2, Block 3, Block 7, Block 8, Block 9 of CJM Second Edition in portions of Michael Avenue, Livesay Lane, and Jamaica Street in the northwest quarter of Section 32, T104 North, R60 west of the 5th PM, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota, from Urban Development District to a Planned Unit Development District known as CJM Second Edition Planned Development District Number 2, and changing the official zoning map accordingly.
Sold. Yeah, it's basically the same as it was left from last time. It's basically rezoning it the same as the existing planned development to the south, except that the one thing was in regards to the animals. That was really the only addition that was in there. Mr. Macheski is here. As you noticed, Anthony Avenue is starting to fill up with houses if you've been driving up there. And my understanding is all the lots now are sold on that. So that's just what's the second phase of it. So.
Move for second reading.
Yep.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Somebody's going to ask me tomorrow.
Yep.
Motion carries.
What happens to Block 1, Block 4, Block 5, Block 6?
They're already either part of that or they were in the existing one.
So,
Yeah,
so
this is to the
going to
north.
make those the same as the others?
Correct. This is basically, except, yeah, the southern part where Anthony Avenue is all in the existing planned development district. He's basically making this one a mirror image to this. And then the houses that are right on the lake, or excuse me, right on Harmon, those are just zoned as part of the residential lake, I believe. Or, yeah, or the existing zoning that was there, so. A planned development district is basically you're making your own rules for that one development.
Was this still subject to a drainage plan?
Yes, again, that's a good point, to remind them of that. That was also part of that, so it would probably behoove you to make a note of that as well.
Move to adopt, including the drainage plan.
Discussion. Public comment? Roll call.
Charts. Allen.
Aye.
Barrington. Robinson. Tronis. Rice.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposed.
No.
Adjourned.